Just no kissing on the lips. Is that?
All right, all right, all right.
Welcome to amorephillyunion, the podcast where if April is the cruelest month, then May is the gruelingest month. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
And I'm Paul.
And we got another double header, full docket of stuff to talk about with two big games. Yeah, I guess we just jump right into it. I don't know. We got a lot.
I think we do. I think what we've been trying to do with, I guess, partial success is to somehow go faster on when we have more to talk about.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's just there isn't enough time to listen to us drone on. But yeah, so we'll see how that works out. But yeah, let's just get right into it.
Yeah. So kind of one of the big matches on the schedule, the one that was circled on most people's calendar this past Saturday. Philadelphia Union welcome Inter Miami, aka
the one people use to support their college funds for their kids.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Actually, this was one game that Union season ticket members were not allowed to swap out for other games.
Interesting.
Wow.
You could sell your ticket, but you
Yeah.
couldn't swap it out.
Interesting.
I wonder how much we could have gotten for the seats. Let's devote about 20 minutes. Okay, let's not. All right. So yeah, this is a kind of a big challenge of a game, right? I mean, the Union are in arguably amazing form, and with Miami coming in and the center of the soccer universe and the love of the MLS writers, this is going to be a big challenge. And for a brief moment, actually for an extended part of this game, I thought we were going to win this. But good, Christy.
Well, the commentators did say at the beginning of the game that if you had talked about this game earlier in the season and said that one team would be in first place and the other one would be in sixth, you wouldn't have thought that you would have thought the reverse of what the actual
100%
team rankings were. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's kind of go through some of the talking points. So first, in terms of the lineup, it's worth mentioning that Blake was still not in net, so we had to send our young gun Rick into net. I gotta imagine. So how old is this kid? What, 19, 20?
Yep, 19.
And you're stepping into the goal where one of the 11 other people trying to shoot on you is Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine that was a non-trivial thought going through his head.
I mean, at 19, it goes one of two ways, right? It's either you're terrified or you are foolish enough to say, just
like,
bring it.
It's that whole Bruce Lee, hand out and with the little dust.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah, he stops Rick stops a shot. He gets up and he's like, I know Kung Fu.
I do have to say, Scoops was watching this with us and she said, no disrespect to Blake and I want him to be okay, but I'm really enjoying watching the kid.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. That's a fair assessment.
So,
well, once again, it comes back to that idea that sometimes they're too young to know that they should be afraid of something.
Yeah.
Right.
And they just go make it happen.
Yeah.
Now, this game, he didn't exactly cover himself in glory because, the Union ended up giving up 3 goals, but he had at least 2 or 3 great plays in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So let's, we did not have to wait long for this game to get interesting. I think one of the first big points here is the Quinn Sullivan's goal in the 7th minute. It's a beautiful looking goal, right? That
was gorgeous. That curving shot to the far side net.
So here's the question, and Kristen and I talked about this briefly. Was that an actual attempt, a shot to that upper right corner, or was he trying to connect with Baribo running in, right? It's the whole Men in Blazers. Was this a chasse? Because depending on the replay angle that you see, it's like, oh yeah, that was deliberate. He was going for the upper corner of the elbow. I'm like, I don't know. He was a little bit laid back. I could see it kind of lofting the ball, trying to get it into that far corner. Hopefully at the end of, the top of or the business side of Baribo's head.
So I was at this game and I thought it was a shot all the way.
All right.
I didn't see any replays until we watched the recap and the highlights. I can certainly see that, but I did think at watching it in real time, like he just saw, it was almost like a parting of the Red Sea. Like they just
Yeah.
slowed down in front of him, and he's like, "Well, then I'm putting it on frame." And it was almost like a Bugs Bunny thing where it was just kind of going so slow that everybody expected somebody else to make a stop on it.
One,
And
Hmm.
two,
it really
three, you're
wasn't a
out.
slow shot. It just felt like it was
Hmm.
going slow,
Hmm.
and it was beautiful.
Well, I'm convinced. An eyewitness account. Yeah.
I,
He
I
did
think
look
there was
particularly
an
delighted after he made it. I
Yeah.
mean, who wouldn't be, I suppose, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there might have been a little extra, extra zing into scoring in this game in
yeah.
particular. And,
Yeah.
he got up there and he did that great celebration off the little post along the side, the wall around the side. And his teammates were holding him up as he was, cheering on the Sons of Ben. So that was awesome.
That's very cool.
Well, the game then, as it proceeded, in my notes here, I noted that it really felt like that Miami was definitely playing a possession game. They were definitely trying to do a little bit more of the ticky-tacky, um, what's it called, total soccer. I don't know, where they're just constantly moving the ball, moving the ball. But I that didn't really bother me too much because that's not the Union strategy on the field. It's like, yeah, go ahead, you can have possession. We don't we only need the ball briefly to get our goal. Um, but with that, there was going back to Rick. He did have at least one direct attempt by Messi on net with him that
Yep.
he stopped. So I got to imagine that's getting some replay on his phone because that's got to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got to feel good about making that stop.
Hmm.
It was a good, solid save.
Oh, and related to that ticky-tacky, didn't you make a point about conditioning when we were talking
Yeah,
earlier?
and this came out later, kind of in this end of the first half. Um, Again, I think maybe because the Union are specializing in this quick counterattack and they would just move fast. Yeah, I just felt like a lot of the Miami players were just slowing down by the end of the first half. I thought it almost
Well,
seemed
they're
like we
in their
were.
30s, and
Um, but maybe you don't have to run too much if you play ticky-tacky. I don't know, but it really felt like they would only chase a Union player for like a few steps and then they would just drop off.
well, talking about walking, my Messi, I know he doesn't run much,
Hmm.
but my goodness, does that man walk around on the field a ton? He's kind of orchestrating things and pointing out open players all the time, but yeah, he walks a ton
Yeah.
out there, and yeah, I agree. I think that the Union, if they didn't have obviously if they didn't have the possession stat, but they still seem to be moving the ball around, especially deeper into the Miami section, even if
Hmm.
Miami had the ball at their feet.
Just kind of summing up the first half here. All goals were scored either during takeoff or during landing.
Hmm.
Because then the Union did score a second goal right before going into the half.
Yeah.
Baribo tallied yet another goal. And to be honest, I don't know how many goals he's up to now, but 12, 13. Um, Kudos to Ora, right, for kind of running into the box and kind of
Pulling the
sacrificing
defender.
himself to keep the ball away from Miami and rolling um, fortuitously to Baribo. Um,
Yeah, that was Baribo's 12th goal.
wow.
He's on fire. He's lighting up the league right now, and it just seems like his touch is magic. It's at
Hmm.
least on frame, and if not in the net, which is wonderful. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, and that goal too. I mean, as it was pinballing around inside the 18, and just when it got to Baribo's feet and he just settled it. I don't know, like it's probably revisionist memory going on for me, but it just felt like, yeah, this shot's going in. It's going in. You could just feel the gravity
Hmm.
pulling that ball towards the net.
Yep.
One other thing to talk about here in the first half. There was that tackle. Indy got tackled inside of Miami's 18 box, and there was no call.
Yeah.
Um, I, it didn't look egregious, but at least from the television side of things, it seemed a little worth griping about. I don't know how to look there in the stadium, Paul.
I mean, I think at that point we were excited to be ahead, so we were being magnanimous and not too upset with the ref, although the ref had plenty of people screaming at him throughout the game. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I honestly, I don't, I mean, other than what we saw in the replay, and I think that's in the replay, they really showed the one in the second half where Vasilev
Hmm.
got taken down in the box again. Um, it's kind of a judgment call from the ref.
Yeah.
And this time he just wasn't giving it to the Union.
Yeah.
I did see this match called out from the MLS games of the weekend as one with egregious reffing. It was a piece, a very, casual piece on h- how bad, and that's air quotes. If you couldn't, you can't see it, but the reffing in MLS is. I mean, I think this was not a person who was pro Miami or pro Philly or anything like that, but I don't know. I mean, I think that's a whole nother discussion. But it was this match too, I believe that didn't Baribo get grabbed in the manly bits in this
Yes,
match?
right. Hold on.
I
Yeah.
didn't, well, I mean, I was at
Yep.
the game, so we didn't have a view of that.
Yep.
Because I somehow did not
Second
write
half.
that down unless I guess I was too busy
65th
complaining about it.
minute. I made a note of that. It
Okay,
was,
good.
who was
Yeah.
that guy? He went on to, he is a British player. Um, he went on to act in like some Guy Ritchie movies. He always plays like a,
Vinny Jones
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's that classic picture where he is
just
100% just grabbing this other player right by the crown jewels. And yeah, so that was reminiscent of Vinnie Jones.
It's a very rugby move
Yeah, it was.
that was completely
Yeah.
disregarded. So or unseen, I guess. But yeah. I mean, so I think there was some egregious reffing in this match on both sides, but it's benefiting both sides, I should say. Yeah. But
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know who that benefited. It didn't benefit Baribo. Know that.
Yeah, and
But
we're not. Yeah, in order to maintain any sort of like non uh explicit rating, we're gonna keep moving on.
it had to be mentioned though.
No, it did. I mean, I
It
wrote it
did.
down in my notes here. Um, so yeah, up 2-0 at the half. It was starting to look like, hey, things are gonna change. We're gonna turn this around because we haven't beaten Miami, well, since Messi's been on the team, right? But there was some stat floating around out there. I don't remember, but it's been a couple of years, I think, since we've beaten
Hmm.
Miami. Um, and some clouds started to roll in there in the second half. It was right outside of takeoff time.
Hmm.
Allende pulls one back for Miami with a nice
Hmm.
little
Yeah.
header.
Hmm.
Yeah, coming out in that second half, it really felt like that Miami had regrouped a little bit,
Hmm.
and they were looking a wee bit dangerous. Yeah, so getting that goal back, just the ghost of 2-0's the hardest. It's the hardest
Hardest
score
lead
to
in
defend.
soccer.
Exactly, and it looks like it's starting to come true.
I think we've really seen the importance of halftime
Yeah,
in the last few matches too, one way or the
yeah,
other. It just has really. I'm not going to call everything a game of two halves 'cause it's not necessarily true, but that
hmm
that it really makes a difference for good or for ill.
yeah. And Paul, I remember we were texting with you while you were at the game, and
Hmm.
with Miami getting this goal, we were like texting like the Union, we got to get this third goal. We got to
Yeah.
get away from this 2-1 score. And the soccer gods did smile upon us, and it granted us granted us this wish. Um, but it's the saying of winning the battle but losing the war or drawing the war. Um, yeah, so Baribo nets his
13th.
second goal of the game,
Yeah,
gets a
second goal of
brace.
the
Hmm.
game, 13th of the season.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, there was some concern that he might have been offside.
Yeah.
The replay, it was razor thin, but right, they check all the goals, VAR, and that whole thing. So,
Yep.
um,
It held up. There was not enough to overturn it.
yeah.
Place got to dupe a third time,
Hmm.
which was a lot of fun. It was cool. I mean, it's great seeing Baribo get a brace. Of course, we ended up. It would have been nicer if he could have finished that hat trick, though, by the end of the game.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't stoppage time. But where was the Miami second goal that
So,
Messi
yeah,
actually
this
scored?
was near the end of the game. This is the 86th minute,
Yeah.
and Glesnes got fouled for tripping up Messi just outside the 18, and Glesnes gets a yellow. I did not see this as a yellow. I honestly, a foul. Okay, sure, it's a foul, right? Basically, Messi tried running over Glesnes' thigh, his leg, and he tripped. Fine, give him the foul. But I don't know. It didn't feel like a yellow card because when you watch the replay, at least how it looks to me, Glesnes is already planted in place. Sure, maybe it's a half second, a fraction of a second in place, but he's not moving when Messi gets tripped up by him. But Glesnes gets the yellow, and I'll be honest, when they started setting up this free kick and the Union is setting up the wall and Rick's trying to get in a position, I'm like, this is just academic at this point. This
Yep.
shot's gonna go in.
Yep. Yeah, watching it from the stands, this was an annoying game to attend as a Union fan
Mm.
because it was probably two-thirds full of people wearing either Argentina or Miami Messi jerseys.
Mm.
That's that sucks so bad.
Like
Hmm.
they weren't annoying fans,
Mm-mm.
other than they're just not there for the Union.
Yeah.
They were fine. I
Yeah.
was sitting next to a dad and his son who were both there, and now they arguably could have been Argentinian
Mm.
because they were speaking Spanish and they were talking about Messi and they were fine. Then the Union scored the first goal. They stood up with everybody else and got to experience the dupe, and they were pretty frustrated by the time the third one came around.
Hmm.
And then Messi gets to see it, and they're talking back and forth with each other, and the dad's like trying to tell the kid what Messi's about to do, and it wasn't a young kid, but he was probably 10 years old, 8 years old, somewhere in there. And so, you just knew it was, like you said, it was kind of written in the stars that we knew
Hmm.
where this was going. Didn't matter if Rick went the right way or not. Messi was
Yeah.
going to find a way to beat him, and he
Yeah.
does. And they get the goal, and the Messi fans cheer. And I kid you not, less than a minute later, they were gone. They left.
They just left.
They just left.
Wow.
Wow.
Miami
Really?
was losing 3-2, and Messi got the goal, and people were just done. They left. They're like, cool. We got to see him get a goal. That's what we wanted. Now we're leaving.
That's just so what's the word? It feels so
They left their money on the nightstand and
yeah, I know, like not contractual, right? There's a
Oh
word I'm
my
trying.
God.
There's just no kissing on the lips. Is that?
All right. All right. All right.
Well, let's go back to talk about Baribo getting
Yeah, I
through.
actually, for some reason, prefer that. What? That's wrong with me.
Um, yeah, and but let's put a pin in this maybe and come back and talk about it. Let's finish up talking about the game. Because we were talking before we started recording tonight about the Miami project, we'll call it, and what its future might look like. Um, and I will say this. It was a great free kick. I
it
mean,
absolutely was.
when the ball went into the net, it still looked like the ball was rising. So
Hmm.
like that ball had so much pace on it.
Yeah.
Rick, he can take comfort that he stopped one Messi shot, and the other one there was just no way he could stop it. Like he
Mm.
got to he got to face a really really good Messi free
He
kick.
joined a pantheon of other keepers
There you go.
who
Exactly.
did not stop Messi shots.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
guess,
You're
it is
absolutely
what it
right.
is.
A very large brotherhood that he just
Yeah.
became part of.
An unfortunate brotherhood.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, once they scored that, I was just praying like it's like the 80th, 86th minute, 87th minute. I'm like, we just got to see this game out. And I was not confident we were going to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
And we
yeah,
didn't.
we didn't.
Nope.
We
What's
didn't.
it? Sokovia gets that.
Segovia at the
Um,
death.
yeah,
Like
That's what it
80,
said.
94th minute out of
yeah,
5 minutes of stoppage time, they get
yeah,
the third goal.
yeah.
And the Union dropped points again. Only the second time this season. So it's kind of you can only be so frustrated with it, but at the same point, you score three, you expect to win that. And it would have been great to get that victory because the Union, just a little bit more of a buffer. I mean, they were number one going in, and getting the tie here. The Cincinnati and Columbus weren't able to catch the Union after the game, but just that extra 2 points would have been really nice.
It would have been, I mean, but it was even less about that for me. It was than the fact that we were going up against Miami. I said to E more than once, this feels like a final. I was surprised how
Yeah,
upset I was getting over this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was really bringing strong LAFC vibes back for me. But I think too, because I do vividly remember, we watch these games, we talk about them. I am not one of those people who has the encyclopedic memory for each game. I can remember plays and certain things that happened, but I can't necessarily tell you who it was against. And, once we get
Right.
down the line. But I do remember more than I want to of that Miami game that was, I believe, part of League's Cup in
Yep.
2023.
Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember we were in Canada watching it on a phone in a restaurant, and at first, and then properly watching it and at our hotel. But like, um, just yeah, that game was super frustrating because
That
it seemed
was.
like our team was very much kowtowing and afraid to,
Yeah.
counter.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see that not be the case for this game, and it wasn't, which
Mm,
great, but then if we could have gotten the win to go along with that, that would have been really, really nice.
yeah.
Now, so that's why I think I felt super deflated
Yeah.
with that last minute goal. Now, as Scoops put it, she's like, if the shoe had been on the other foot, you'd be really happy.
Yeah.
If this, I'm
Meaning if they had
absolutely
scored the
100%,
third goal to tie it out to death.
or if that had been us
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than, yeah. So, yeah, so I'm like, yeah, I know. It's just that this is Miami and Messi and all
I will
that.
also
So,
say, something you might enjoy. I really don't think Jordi Alba likes playing against the Philadelphia Union.
Why
He
is
fantastic.
that?
was he was so angry with the players on the right hand side of the Union. I mean, anytime they would just make sure to throw a hip at him,
Nice.
just a little extra touch. Just anytime he got up the field, they were on him.
Nice.
They pushed the bounds, but they never went over the line.
Good.
And he was in the referee's face from like the 80th minute on, going, "Are you going to stop them?" And the ref's like, "They're not fouling you. I'm not calling that." And he was so frustrated at the end of that game with the referee,
Good.
and he was the players just seemed to be feeding off of that.
I'll tell you what, that makes that makes me feel better about this game because as soon as this game ended, I wrote and I showed you guys my notes. I wrote 3-3 loss.
Yep.
And the fact that we were kind of giving Jordi Alba some abuse, it's moving, the needle's moving towards a 3-3 draw. I'll take it, you know. Um,
I like that it's still in motion.
but like, if the universe, came to us at the beginning of the game and said to us, like,
Yep.
hey, I give you right now up front, agree to a draw and we move on. I was like, yeah, maybe I would take it just to draw against Miami and move forward. But
Yeah.
we had a little taste of the sweet fruit of victory, and we had it taken away. And
Hmm.
yeah, I almost feel like for me, Miami's becoming like my new rivalry. Like it's just like not my. It's like this is the rivalry. Like New York Red Bulls. Sure, there's a history. We want to beat them, but I care more about beating Miami.
Only for
Uh,
2 more years to transition to what you wanted to talk
so
about.
let's talk about that briefly. So right as Paul, as you
Yeah.
pointed out, right. They Messi scores and people leave because they got what they wanted out of this relationship, and that's to see Messi score a goal. So what happens to Miami? I know we talked about this on other
You're
episodes,
killing me
but
with this metaphor. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I'll just leave your money on the nightstand. But
Yeah.
it's not without its place. I mean,
I mean,
we
yeah.
talk about how it feels like MLS just bends over backwards for Messi. And
Right.
this is like like you said, we almost feel bad for Messi. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
It's
just
almost
like it's
embarrassing
almost
for him.
embarrassing,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Miami, when Messi's gone, I mean, you think you're gonna see a lot of
Gross.
Suarez
No.
jerseys out there?
Nope.
No.
Maybe some orthodontist might sponsor something, but
Jeez.
yeah, sorry, that was bad. Okay, let me just cross out that joke. That didn't land. Okay.
Oh, grown.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. Like, Miami's got to worry about it. Like, because I think he's what this year and next year
Yeah.
they've got Messi, and then his contract's up,
Hmm.
and I mean, he's going to be have made like $300 million or whatever it is on the contract with Miami plus all the sponsor stuff, and I think he has like first right to the next MLS franchise or whatever, and he's going to be fine money wise. Let's put it that
Oh,
way
he
after
was going
this
to be
game.
fine before he ever joined MLS,
Oh
but
God,
yeah,
he
Yeah.
was fine, 10 years
10
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
But yeah, what are they going to bring the next next player over? I just don't see it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
There's nobody else that's going to be. I mean, there will be hot players and such, but there will be nobody who has this kind of draw. There won't. I mean, unless they, God forbid, got Ronaldo. But
No,
he's
That's
older
yeah.
already, and
I
I
don't
think
think he's that
he's
much off of Messi in age.
He's like,
he's 40, I believe, unless I looked it up. And
oh,
Messi is what, 37, 38? Is that right?
okay.
So Messi's actually younger than Ronaldo.
Messi
Yeah.
is younger than Ronaldo. Yes,
Yeah, so I mean, obviously
not
Ronaldo will not be
hugely.
that big draw
I
for.
have to imagine that Ronaldo just so competitive. I have this like this narrative in my head that just Ronaldo just wants to compete with Messi on everything. I gotta imagine like Ronaldo sleeps in some like hyperbaric chamber and has like infusions of like esters and oils to like, and almost some Lovecraftian way of slowing down the aging that, while he's this many years older, he's biologically trying to clock in
Get
younger
younger.
than Messi.
Is it scary that I was going to say exactly the same thing? Hi, we're married. Good Lord. Yeah, Messi is 37 and Ronaldo is 40.
Wow.
Just turned
Amazing.
40 in February, so.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I don't know if like you say, I don't know if a Ronaldo 40 is a human
Yeah.
40, but
anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Yes, I can. And we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Because like, what does Miami do next? Because it doesn't seem like they're trying to. It's not. They're almost the opposite of the Union, which is building from the youth
Mm.
program that they've
Mhm.
got,
Yeah.
and bringing them up and making them stars. Whereas Miami, it's Miami. There's got to be a hotbed of soccer down there that they
Yeah.
could, and maybe they are, but they're not the players that you hear about.
And I think Paul, what you just said, I think really kind of hits the nail on the head of why I want us to beat Miami. And that is Miami's putting all they're putting the whole centerpiece of the strategy on the field off the team is one person, and that's Messi.
Mhm.
Our strategy, our approach is this holistic, broad spectrum. We build from the ground up, grassroots, the whole thing, in-house, that whole thing. And Miami can just come along by one guy and they just dominate, and it just
Well, they
feels
bought at least three because they brought in
true.
Jordi, Busquets, and Suarez. So
And so
four.
so four.
If you
Well, and then there's that issue too, where they brought in a whole bunch of people and probably are in violation of some kind of cap
Mm-mm.
situation
well,
or damn close to
technically,
it.
it's
That's
one of those things where I feel like MLS is going, no, they're totally in their space. That person's a TAM
Yeah.
player, and they're just gonna be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Just
Yeah.
yet this guy
Just
has a cousin's former roommate that lived in Miami. So we don't have to consider this an international trade. It's
yeah, no, it's
Suarez is a homegrown player, apparently. I don't
Oh,
know how they,
jeez. Yeah,
um,
it's
yeah,
the game is rigged, shocker,
yeah.
I guess, right? But I mean, it's funny because it's like you change the word messy to doping, and we're talking about cycling. I feel like so
Wow.
it's kind of a similar thought. If you, I mean, it gives them the same, oh, unfair advantage. I don't know, potential for an unfair
Yeah.
advantage because it doesn't always work. They're in
Yeah.
Look
sixth
at what
place and we're not.
LAFC has done. Look at what LA Galaxy has done.
Yeah.
Look at
Hmm.
what New York City FC has done. Like these, it's happened before.
Yeah.
And
Not
it's
to this extent, though.
true. I
Not
mean,
to this extent. I think
Messi's
this is different. We, yeah,
as big,
we've been the retirement home before for sure.
as big as
Absolutely.
Beckham was when he came over. It's nothing compared to the Messi
That's
Yeah.
right.
era.
That's right. And I
Yeah.
think that's why we, every time we play Miami, we actually have the same
Yeah. I know.
conversation in some variation. But
Sorry, listeners.
yeah, sorry. But I think I don't know. I think it's evolving. It is what it is. And this time we tied. And
Yeah.
and this time we're still in first and they're not. So
Yeah.
that's where we're at. And it will be, I think though, I mean the point stands, it will be very interesting to see what becomes of Miami. I don't want to pat
Mm.
ourselves on the backs too much
No.
for having an academy and them for, but um, it's definitely a bit of a dance with the devil. We'll see where it lands for both MLS and for
Yeah.
Miami,
We'll see if Paul's experience of fans leaving the stadium after Messi has done his work is a portent for what may happen in the larger scheme for the club.
I hope that that family or the father son that you were sitting next to did not pay the exorbitant prices I was seeing for tickets last year and then leave early. I really
Right.
hope, because that seems like a giant waste.
Yeah.
But I did not look at tickets this year. I had no call to. So
I did want to say, I don't know if you're local, but hopefully if you enjoyed watching this game, you'll come back out to support the Union.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
they were gone before I could have even had that
yeah,
sort of a conversation with them.
yeah.
They were perfectly pleasant.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
Sure.
It
Yeah, I
was
know.
just clear that they were there for one person.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's very
That's right.
frustrating as a Union fan to have that happen in our
Right.
stadium.
Right.
All
Yeah.
right.
We can move on to a non-Messi game.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's go into game number two here. So it's Thursday as we are recording. So this was last night's game. The Union traveled north to Toronto. Um,
Yet another cold, windy, blustery, rainy day up in for a game.
I will say that E and I could not watch this game live, and I got two texts, which was one from Paul saying, knowing we couldn't watch it and not trying to spoil anything, but telling us that Blake is back in net,
that was great
Yay!
news.
Blake
which
is back.
is great
Back in
news
it.
for
Back
all of
in it.
us. Exactly. And then my mom, Scoops, texting to say, "Yay, Shannon is on the radio broadcast," because that's where her priorities are.
Yeah. Yeah.
She really enjoys him. So anyway, I just thought it was kind of the contrast was funny.
So when you watched it on delay, did you try to listen to the radio broadcast? Is that even available on replay? I don't think
Not
it
that I
was.
can tell. No,
Yeah.
I was looking through their site and not last night. I have looked before briefly and I haven't found a replay that it may be there, but no, we just watched with the Apple commentary.
Hmm.
So
I will say I do like it when Danny Higginbotham
yeah.
calls the
Yeah.
Union games because
Hmm.
he knows the team and
Yeah.
he's just a good commentator on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sport. But others, they can be painful to listen to.
Yes. I have a few on my list, but I can't remember their names. Luckily for our podcast, not being blackballed. Um,
One thing about
um,
this game that the announcers did say at the beginning, that the Union were on track to have the best 16 first games of any season ever.
Wow.
If we tied the Toronto game, we would have tied our best first 16 game record. And if we won the Toronto game, we would actually now exceed. And this would be the best first 16 games of any season
For the
and
Union.
for the Union.
And
And
I thought it was crazy that the Union were traveling away to Toronto, and at the start of the game, they were a 49% to win the game, according to the numbers.
Yep.
yeah, I saw that stat and I thought it was
Hmm.
like a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, I knew Toronto had been struggling, but
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't think anybody would get that favored of a
Yeah.
result.
Yeah.
No, that was wild.
And the Union, through the first half, they looked to be trying to take it to Toronto, and
Hmm.
they were trying to prove that right.
The one thing I had in my notes when we were watching this game, and that was if Toronto scores, it's got to be because the Union made a stupid mistake.
And yeah,
Hmm.
that was very prescient.
Yeah. Um, because well, I mean,
Why don't we just jump to it?
jump right. So second half, well outside of any takeoff and landing time.
75th
Yeah.
minute until he
Yeah.
scored. Anybody scored.
I will say though,
75th.
Christy, there was a halftime effect here too, because I feel like the Union just ran the first half. The second half, I felt
Mm,
like Toronto came out regrouped,
yeah.
refocused, a lot more possession, a lot more hustle. But yeah, this goal in the 75th minute. Yeah, so it was their who was the guy who scored from him? He's the Norwegian guy, right?
Brynhildsen.
Yeah. Basically a great pass. He gets behind the Union defense and he's just off to the races. And I think Harriel was trailing him.
Harriel was trailing him. Glesnes was in the middle, and Glesnes didn't commit to pressuring him because he thought Nate was going to catch him.
Yeah.
So they were both tracking back, and Brunhilde or whatever his name is,
That's what I
Haggard
thought
the
of every
Horrible.
time. Every time they said it,
was
yeah.
racing down kind of the right side of the field,
Hmm.
and Glesnes didn't try to move over to pressure him until he was already into the 18-yard box. And at that point, it was just too late. I know he was. It seemed like Glesnes was playing to prevent the pass and trusting that Harriel would catch him, but Harriel didn't catch him in time. And by the time Glesnes shifted to actually pressure the ball, it was, yeah, like I said, too late. And whatever his name, got a shot in, and it was just a clean finish. Clean finish, good
Yeah.
run, clean finish.
Yeah, it was, as much as I was annoyed, it was a pretty goal for
Yeah, it
sure.
really was. I mean, bouncing off the crossbar like that was also a little bit of a help too. But yeah, it was.
He didn't miss.
He did not miss. No, he did not miss.
He was
And
cool enough to make sure it was on frame.
yeah, and this was a blunder by the Union. It was a blunder.
You know, and you knew that they were going to kick themselves for it. And in all honesty, Toronto had been frustrating the Union all night.
Yeah.
And it was, like we said, 75th minute when before any goals were scored, and it definitely felt like it was against the run of play. And then everybody's like, as a watching it, just were like, oh crap, are we going to lose this game against a team that we should have won against? It was very
Yeah,
frustrating.
that was very frustrating.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like the draw against Miami was bad enough. And I was like, yeah, if we lose to Toronto, it's like, yeah, I did not want to initiate a spiral, that we did not want to go down.
Oh, but wait, in the 86th minute,
Hmm. Hope did spring eternal.
sure, why not?
Led by the foot of that beautiful, beautiful left foot of Kai Wagner.
Yeah.
To that
Roll
Oh.
that beautiful, beautiful
less
foot.
less than meaty forehead of Nathan Harriel. And I watched that in slow motion. The Union put it up, and it was
Hmm.
I don't understand how you do that. I don't get it. I don't
Yeah.
I don't understand how you anticipate all the various trajectories and angles to get up there and swivel your head just so and bang it right in the back of the net.
Yeah.
It
He seemed
just,
to have like a 4 foot vertical on this
Yeah.
dude,
jump, and
I
he
don't get
seemed to
it.
be the only one up there to get the ball. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. He really was. And he was. I mean, he really was. Because now I understand why it seems like on these corner kicks, Wagner is overshooting. It's not so much he's overshooting; he's carrying on Harriel to get a header.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
when
guessing, or
Ariel
someone.
can jump 12 feet up in the air
Yeah,
yeah, it was amazing.
We talked
crazy.
about this last season, I think, or something like that, with respect to Blake and just how he can just defy the laws of gravity. Honestly, I really think scientists are going to need to start studying the behavior of gravity around goal, like the nets of goals, because things do not follow the laws of physics sometimes. But yeah, kudos to Harry, and like he kind of got there pretty much without having too many defenders breathing down his neck. He
Hmm.
was pretty much
Yeah.
not completely open, but it was he had a little bit more free reign.
And it was a
Yeah,
great header.
It
really
was. It
was.
really was.
He didn't put it into the ground like they normally did. He went to the top of the goal, and
Hmm.
the keeper just, I think the keeper even got a hand to it, but it just was
Yeah,
too
Yeah.
fast, too much power, and Harriel just buries it past him,
Yeah.
and then that wonderful celebration is the team's like, "Oh, we can score. That's
yeah.
right."
Yeah. Yeah.
Allie literally said to him, "See what happens when you open your eyes." With like glasses, like the finger glasses thing. And I'm like, I don't know what you're referencing, but it's delightful.
And I wonder if
So
Harriel took a lot of headers with his eyes closed,
maybe
and
that's it. I don't know,
oh,
but
that's funny.
yeah.
That's funny. Because that's right,
Mm.
because they had subbed Bedoya on late in the
Hmm.
game for
That's right.
Vassilev.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He did
Yeah.
get a yellow card at one point, I think, right?
I
I think
think
he
you're
did.
right.
Yeah.
Yay. Good old
Um,
Allie.
Still got a little fire in that belly there. He's not afraid to get a yellow.
So the Union now got a chance to catch up to it. They were down. They caught up with a tie, but not quite finished yet. That was when did the last
Six
goal happen?
minutes later, 90 plus two.
Yeah.
6 minutes.
We were not going to settle for a tie. We would settle for a Kai. Okay, also going
Nicely
to check that one
done.
off the list.
No, that's
Okay.
nicely done. I said nicely done. No, that was I literally say with my hands on my head saying, what just happened?
Yeah.
This was a different kind of Kai-Tai game. It was the game where Kai didn't let the tie happen.
The Kai-no-Tai.
This was
Exactly. He gets
Kai
the
skee ball
assist.
is what it was. It's really what it looked like.
He gets the assist with Harriel, and then he gets, I don't know exactly what he was trying to do with this play. He could have been shooting it. He could have
Yeah,
been
I think
doing
it was
it.
shooting. Yeah, it
It was
was a
on frame,
low.
absolutely,
Yeah. I feel like the defender should get an assist because it just took that wonky bump off of his foot.
and bounced into the ground and then right over the goalkeeper into the net.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was funny because the camera angle, it literally, when it happened, literally looked like it rolled up over the player,
Yeah.
which is not in actuality what did happen, but like it really, they showed it again. I was just like, how did he do that? Clearly unintended, which is why I have freak shot in the notes. But I
Again,
mean, intended
violating
to
the
get in
laws of
goal, but
physics.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That was wonderful to see.
Yeah.
yeah,
So much power on that
Yeah.
shot. And, good things happen when you put the ball on frame.
Yeah.
yeah. I just kept waiting for something to be called back or something because this was a whistle happy game, for sure.
That's
Like
right.
there,
Yeah.
yeah, I just kept thinking. I've made many references to our friend Mario and his father, who was a ref, FIFA ref, and it just, again, being too present in the game
Hmm.
and stopping play far too much for my taste. I mean, there were times sure it was warranted, but it felt like twice as many whistles were called as were warranted,
Yeah.
or stops or in play, I should say. But even the commentators were getting frustrated with them. I mean, pretty much everybody was. So it's not just my assertion.
Yeah. I did like the Kai's celebration running over to the sideline.
Yeah.
Uh,
To the bench.
yeah. I almost felt like, well, if people are getting assists and, because I know Sullivan was moving up the leaderboard for league assists. Kai's like, well, then I want to start moving up the leaderboard for goals scored.
It was interesting though how many winter coats were on the sideline. It looked like
Yeah.
Yeah.
looked miserable, to be
Yeah.
It
totally
was,
honest.
yeah, rainy and
Uh,
cold, but
was
they
it
were
the
feeling pretty good to get a second half stoppage time lead,
yeah.
and
It
then they
did
just saw it out.
it did feel a little bit of the shoe being on the other foot, with Miami getting the at the death equalizer, we get the at the death, winning
Game
goal,
winner.
which,
Right.
you know,
But the
uh,
commentators did say that this felt to them uh like payback for drawing a game we should have won.
yeah, yeah,
But at the same point, if, like you said, if we could have been told, hey, you'll get a tie against Miami and a win against Toronto a week ago, I think we all would have taken that.
I
Yeah,
would have taken it.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got so we had 6 points available. We walked away at four. That's not too shabby. And with those points, the Union have now securely moved into the first place. We are 3 points ahead of second place Cincinnati. Um, so we're kind of in the driver's seat at this point.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're just a little over a third of the way through the season.
Hmm.
Maybe not for this week, but we're gonna have to start breaking down the Carnell experiment here because we have a lot of data points here to start crunching,
Hmm.
just to see. Oh man, I mean, if you had asked me at the beginning of the season, at the end of May, Union are sitting in first place, you know, you would want to put a fiver down on this, I don't think I would have taken it. Um,
Mm-mm.
No.
we still
I
got
mean,
a
I
lot.
thought I was being pretty rose-colored glasses when I picked the Union to finish fifth this season,
Yeah,
and right now I'm looking like I might have undersold it, but we'll
yeah,
see. It's
we'll
still
see.
early. We're not even we're closing in on halfway through the season,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, the Union are playing well. The players seem to have bought in. There seems to be good camaraderie out on the field.
hmm
They're saying all the right things in the interviews.
yeah.
Got to be hopeful.
Our injury list is getting a little smaller. Blake being back in the games are good.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
Not
and he
good
didn't
right
seem
now.
sore. He didn't seem to be,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
what's the word? Basically, like trying to
like a little hesitant,
compensate or
little
anything like
Hmm.
that. Or
yeah,
he
Having
took
people
all the
take
goal
gold picks.
kicks.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And kudos to Rick too. I think he did a admirable job
Yeah,
stepping in for Blake's
More
shoes.
than more than admirable.
Yeah,
I thought he did a really
yeah,
he was yeah, I mean, Blake is Blake, but I think he's got a good future,
yeah.
Rick.
Rick does.
So,
Yeah.
hmm.
All
Okay.
right. Well, next up, things are going to get a little easier now for the Union, just in terms of the schedule. Um, you know, I think left Toronto and are heading directly to Dallas.
Yep.
So they're not even coming back to Philly. So
Hmm.
our next game is this Saturday, against FC Dallas. I guess it's probably 7:30 local time, so it's 8:30 our time or something like that. But
No, it's yeah. I don't know.
yeah, I think it's 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. I could be wrong. That's what I thought I saw. Um, so Union are coming in this game first place. Blake's back in net. Um, FC Dallas, they're sitting in 11th place. They've been kind of fairly tepid in terms of their current streak of things, right? Their 5 game record so far is draw, loss, draw, loss, draw. So hopefully the pattern continues, because that means the next game will be a loss. Any
Gotta
thoughts
like the
or
Union's chances,
yeah.
and whether it's in football or soccer, it's always fun to watch the Philly team beat up on the
Hmm.
Dallas team.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So let's hope that happens.
Yeah.
How is it that it is 8:30, by the way,
Okay.
8:30 Eastern
Good.
time. But how is it that we keep playing teams that are in double digits? How does this keep happening? I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we got to run out of them sooner or
Yeah.
later.
Right. We will have our comeuppance at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this earlier that I feel like, the Negadelphia thing is still in me, and I'm just like, yeah, but we're playing all these easy teams again, if you could hear the
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 air
Finger
air
quotes.
quotes.
quotes. So, I know they're not easy teams. I know that's not at all a fair thing to say, but that's where I'm at. But it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the last game of the March that was May. And I realized just as I said it out loud what that sounds like. But um so hopefully this has been a long marathon of a month.
Hmm.
And this is the
Yeah.
last one, and then we're gonna have about a week or two off, I think. I don't think
Well, they've got a friendly on the 7th before they host
Yeah.
Charlotte on the
okay.
14th.
But even
Yeah.
that, hopefully they can kind of dial it back a little bit. So I feel like this is the last big hurdle before they can get a break. So hopefully that just, you know, when you can see that little bit of a finish line, you just push what you need to get the job done. Hopefully nobody gets hurt. Both teams, nobody gets hurt. And yeah, I to kind of conclude this very, very long month, I would like to see, of course, I want to see the win. Yeah, I want to see the win. I
I do
want to see the
too.
win.
I mean,
Hmm.
I know we're kind of a little low energy at the moment, but yeah, I do honestly think the Union have a
Yeah,
good chance to get a good, the best
yeah,
result out of this. I would love to see a win, and I would love to see a clean sheet.
yeah.
Same. I don't know what there is to add to that.
And or a goal.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like to see Oregon
pray for Aura.
pray for Ore.
He does so much for the offense
He
and
does.
just doesn't show up on the score sheet. But
Yeah,
Yeah. He
just
did get
want
an
him to get
assist
that goal.
somewhere in
yeah,
the last two games. I don't remember exactly where,
yeah.
um, but yeah, I know he's just always out there this close.
And I want to see Danley like, and I'm just looking over my notes from these two games. It feels like every third line it was something about Danley's hustling, Danley's this, Danley's. I just want to see him still hustling. I'll say this: or getting a goal, I would like to see. I'd like to see Lukic get a goal because I feel like he's starting to not slump. That's not the right word. I
Mm,
feel like he's getting a little out of rhythm. So I feel like he
mm,
needs to have a maybe not a goal, but he's got to have a big play in this Dallas game. I think that would be nice to see.
that would be nice.
Cool.
Kind of get a little swagger back,
Hmm.
Because I love the fact that like he's taken several long range shots,
Yeah.
and
I
yeah,
think
I mean,
even in this Toronto game, he had one or two
yeah,
shots.
yeah. So I'd like to see some positive result there for Lukic.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe just some like insane like back no look pass to Aura running in and Aura scores. So we can
You know what he could do is the last time, I think it would have been the last time Aura scored was off a through ball from Lukic.
there we go. Yeah, let's do a repeat. That's fine with me.
Yep.
Hey guys, I just looked ahead at the schedule and yes, we're playing Red Bulls in the Open Cup on July 9th, and then we play them regular season July 12th.
Oh boy.
Yikes. Do you think it's time to bring Mark back?
Yeah, well let's get him
Mm.
in.
I
Yeah.
Let's
kind
get
of
him in for
wonder if
that.
they're going to push that MLS regular season game
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
wonder. Yeah.
because I've got the tickets for that regular season game, and I'm tempted to go buy some Sons of Ben seats for the Open Cup game.
Mm,
But yes, for anybody who hadn't heard, they have finalized the date for the U.S. Open Cup
yes.
quarterfinal for matchup. New York Red Bull will be coming here to Philadelphia on July 9th.
7 p.m. according to their website.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun game. At least it won't be against Miami.
Yay.
Yay. All right, is that it?
All right, yeah. Anything else?
All-star
Oh,
voting is open.
that's
Oh,
right. Yes, we forgot this the extra fun stuff.
Yep, all-star voting is open. And congrats to Andrew Rick, CJ Only, and David Vasquez for their call up to the U.S. U19 men's team roster. And apparently they're going to be playing in Spain against Spain and Ukraine over this training camp from I think it's the 2nd of June until the 10th of June.
Nice. That would explain the bit of a break, except for the friendly
Yeah.
that's happening.
I also think that some of it is the Club World Cup stuff that's
Yeah.
going on
Yeah, that's
in
true.
the US.
Of course. Yeah.
Anything new on that front, Paul? With your
I signed up for my sessions, my shifts. I think my first one is June 16th. So
All right.
uh, I still have to. They had a training session for us, virtual one,
Hmm.
and then at some point they're supposed to be getting out some information about when to pick up jerseys and where to go. And there's supposed to be some on-site training that's going to happen out at the link, but
Nice.
they only have the link for certain days, so
Mm.
they're trying to figure out exactly how to get it all organized.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
a big process to get
Yeah, I'm
all
sure
those
it
moving
is. I'm
parts
sure
I
it is.
organized.
can't imagine that level of event planning is
Yeah.
beyond me.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll touch base with you when those gears start turning.
absolutely. And they are still looking for volunteers somehow or another. I just saw
Wow.
another message earlier today that they're looking for volunteers. So if anybody wants to get involved, there might still be time.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Well, if you want to join our conversation, you can find us at our website, amorephillyunion.com. Send us your thoughts, questions, whatever you want, via email, or you can reach us on our socials. Email, we are pod@amorephillyunion.com. On our socials, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, Blue Sky, we are a more Philly Union. We are continuing to add to our ever growing, ever odd Spotify playlist. Just look for it under a more Philly Union and look for the logo with the musical notes. Download, subscribe to our podcast wherever you get yours. And while you're at it, go show some love to one of our favorite forces for good in the world, and that is the Philadelphia Union Foundation. You can check them out at philadelphiaunionfoundation.org. Oh, yeah, and don't forget to go check out some of our items we have for sale on our store. You can find it in our the links in our socials and stuff like that, and on our website. So feel free to check that out. So thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of A More Philly Union. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
And I'm Paul. Go Union! Those sausage fingers, they got you to start the recording?
Yeah, there's so much other gold I let pass right by. So if sausage fingers is the best we get, so be it. Although sausage fingers is pretty good.
We don't deserve nice things.